What is going on, guys? Weevil YouTuber here, back with another video, and welcome to part 2 of my ban list discussion. The reason I divided these videos up into parts is basically because I wanted to generate a discussion on each individual segment of the ban list, to the banned cards, the limited cards, the semi-limited cards, and the cards that will no longer be on the list, as well as the cards that will be swapped around. In other words, if one card gets limited, they might bring another card back to balance it all out. But basically, Konami have to balance out. The limited list is where it really gets interesting, because Konami have to balance out money-making stuff that they like to do with keeping a deck playable, keeping it interesting, and keeping the metagame interesting. If they limit a deck to the point where the deck is actually no longer playable, then they're no longer going to make money off any of the other cards that aren't limited, if you know what I mean. No one's going to be buying vanilla dinos, Dirac monsters, Dolgas and Laggias, bad example because they're being re-released. But you know what I'm saying. If you ban Rescue Rabbit, for example, that would just be a silly thing to do. So the limited list for me is where things get really interesting, and we're going to take a look at it now. Okay, well, everyone seems to be aware that Konami has some pretty tough choices to make. They have to deal with Chaos Dragons, Rescue Rabbit, Wind-Ups, Inzectors, Chainburn, and a bunch more. The question is, can they balance their desire for money-making with the need to clamp down on those overpowered decks? Let's take a look. Yeah. Okay, so Chaos Dragons first. If they're going to limit any cards in Chaos Dragons, it is going to be like Pulsar Dragon and nothing else, in my opinion. Nothing else really needs to get hit, apart from Red Eye Starting Smell, which could possibly be semi-limited. In fact, it will probably be on my list. But in any case, if you limit like Pulsar Dragon, if you bottomless trap hole it, or you banish it in some way, shape, or form, there is literally no way a Chaos Dragon player, based on what the standard build is, can get that card back. There's no way, if they banish it for a BLS or something, that they can bring it back. So, in that regard, you're not just going to get lucky by drawing into yet another like Pulsar Dragon. Dark Flare is perfectly balanced and he doesn't need to be hit. It's just this guy that is really, really annoying, especially in the combo between him and Red Eye Starting Metal Dragon. That is basically where I feel the biggest issue is, and that is why I feel this guy needs to be limited. The deck won't be shut down if you do this, it will just be more balanced and more based on luck, which I think is perfectly fair. But am I overlooking something? Is there another card in the deck which should be limited? If you think so, apart from Red Eye Starting Smell Dragon, as I said, he will be on the semi-limited list. Please post a comment in the comment section below and let me know what you guys think. Okay, so the next deck is Inzectors, and this is a perfect example of Konami's desire for money, basically, because if you limit Inzector Dragonfly, the sales for Hornet are going to plummet. That is not something they want. However, limiting Dragonfly is better than banning the Dragonfly, because banning the Dragonfly shuts the Inzector deck down. That is not something they want to do. They want to make the game playable, they want to make the popular decks still popular, they want to keep them that way. However, they don't want to make them as overpowered as they used to be. So that this is a perfectly fair move, in my opinion, and if Konami don't do this, I will be severely disappointed, especially since in the OCG, they are so damn popular and they are winning so damn much. As for my specific reasons for limiting the card, it basically comes down to the fact that it's a free special summon when you get its effect off, from which you can go into either a rank 3 or a rank 5 XYZ, depending on whether you use the Hornet or the Ladybug. Also, people are saying that Centipede should be hit. I feel that this is silly, because Centipede is a searcher, it brings the card to your hand, fair enough, that's great. However, it's slow. It doesn't gain you immediate advantage, and it only really works so well when Dragonfly is paired with it. Whereas if Dragonfly went down to 1, you would basically just have Centipede and Ladybug plays, and Hornet plays, which would be a lot more slow, of course. People have also been talking about Inzector Hornet getting limited. I think this is a perfectly fair move, but they cannot do both. They should do one or the other. If you limit the Hornet and you banish the Hornet with a DD Crow, all they've got is Ladybug plays, that is perfectly fair. If you ban the Dragonfly, they've only got a free special summon once, and that is perfectly fair, because you only need one Hornet to derp anyway. So, you know, either one. Okay, so unlike Inzectors, Rescue Rabbit is not that big in the OCG, since they don't have Evolzar Dolka, but it is still a deck which very much needs to be hit. I think it's perfectly fair to limit this card, and to turn it from a main deck staple into a sort of a tech card, and it'll be interesting to see what kind of creative builds people come up with if they only have one Rescue Rabbit to work with. One could make the argument that the theme for this ban list are cards which generate instant advantage, and which at 3 copies can be searched up too damn easily. I'm referring to the banned list and the limited list. If you think about it logically, having 3 copies of a card in your deck which can instantly generate you an Evolzar Dolka, which is basically a Divine Wrath, or an Evolzar Laggia, which is basically a Solemn Judgment, is just plain silly. And if anyone were to tell you this years ago, you'd be like, there shouldn't be such a card in the game. However, this Rescue Rabbit deck has been running rampant on the format for the past 4 or 5 months. So, in fact, longer than that, even before the March 2012 format. So it really just, it needs to be hit, and the reason Konami kept it around in March is because they needed to make money off it while they could. Okay, so my next card is Levier the Sea Dragon, and this guy's a bit of a strange one. Basically, Konami can limit this card for one of 2 reasons. First, because of his effect, decontextualized from the circumstances in which he can be summoned so easily, simply because you get a free special summon from either player's banished zone level 4 or lower. It's pretty darn ridiculous. Second, his effect paired with how easily he can be summoned in the current metagame. In other words, with the likes of Inzektor Dragonfly, in windups, most of their monsters at level 3, and of course, Tour Guide from the Underworld as a TCG exclusive. But the thing is, if they hit Tour Guide from the Underworld, or if they hit any of those other level 3 monsters, like I said, will Levier still be effective, and is it even worth touching him at all? That is the real question. Let me know what you guys think about this. Cards to bring back? Oh, first, how about Premature Bet? I'm just kidding. No, the only card I would think of that you would swap around with BLS, for example, would be Dark Magician of Chaos. I mean, fair enough, his effect is brilliant, but spellcasters are going to be up and coming soon, and I think it would be perfectly fair to bring this guy back, especially if they got rid of Monster Reborn as well, so special summoning wouldn't be as easy. You'd have to do stuff like Magician's Circle and all this other weird stuff. And the cards they would normally be targeting would be Books of Spell, so that's perfectly fair as well. And yes, they ban Magician of Fate because you get a free spell card to your hand, just like they banned this guy because you get your Monster Reborn, your Dark Hole, or your Heavy Storm, or your whatever the hell you wanted back to your hand for a second use. I mean, he is kind of ridiculous, but if you think about it, bringing BLS back was just as ridiculous, and if you swap these guys around for DMOC, who can only really work in a spellcaster type deck, then in my opinion, it's perfectly fair, and it's something that I think they should consider. Another card which I think they should bring back is Cold Wave. Now, I pretty much agree with everything that Mega Capital G said about this card. Basically, Konami unbanned a card, or put it on the limited list, based on what the format was like back when it was originally banned, and what the format is like now. What the format is like now is full of hand traps, and we can basically handle these things, including several decks which can have these one-turn, one-card explosive plays that don't require spells or traps. In fact, effects, I would say, if anything, are what dominates the format right now. So while Cold Wave may assist those decks in gaining some advantage over the first couple of turns, they won't necessarily win in the duel. It's their effects that will win in the duel. It's Rescue Rabbit's effect that wins the duel. It's Dragonfly's effect that makes such explosive plays. I'm not sure if Hornet counts as activating a spell or trap. I'm pretty sure it doesn't. So basically, if Konami decide to do this, they're going to just be adding some variety to the current metagame, trying to mix it up a little bit. With the spellcasters coming out soon, they want some way to be able to counter the spellcaster decks. Cold Wave would be an interesting way to do that. Okay guys, that is it for the video today. I didn't pick more cards because basically I wanted to make my list based on what I expect Konami will actually do rather than what I want Konami to do. And if I base it on the second premise, it would be basically just a huge list of limited cards from all these obscure decks like Final Countdown, weird stuff like that. I mean, Final Countdown, fair enough, you can hit it a little bit if it's being a little bit annoying. One Day Apiece might be something I would semi-limit, for example. But limited cards are solely reserved, in my opinion, for decks that are just too overpowered, that need to be nerfed a little bit. And as for the cards that I brought back, it took me a while to limit it down to just 2 cards, Dark Magician Chaos and Cold Wave. I mean, on my original limited list, I had about 12 cards that I wanted to limit, but then I thought to myself, let's be realistic, which cards here actually need to be hit? And fair enough, I've seen a lot of YouTubers make lists like this, not based on what they want, but on what they expect to happen. And will probably still be wrong. So please, don't blame the YouTubers for making predictions. Just blame Konami for making stupid decisions. Simple. But hey guys, we'll just have to see what happens, and if you think Konami are making it miserable for you, then you gotta do something about it. I'm sure there's some sort of feedback thing where you can say, hey, I think you should ban this card or that card or whatever card. But anyway guys, I am out. I will talk to you guys later. Comment, rate, subscribe, all that jazz. I'm Wheel YouTuber signing out. Woo! Peace. Catch you later. Bye.